and welcome to our next video. Today we will be discussing the history behind the Great Pyramid of Giza, a defining symbol of Egypt and the last of the ancient seven wonders of the world. The northernmost and oldest pyramid of the group was built for Khufu, the second king of the 4th dynasty, and it is called the Great Pyramid. It is the largest of the three. The length of each side at the base is on average 230 meters, and its original height is 147 meters. Did you know that until the Eiffel Tower was completed in Paris, France in 1889, the Great Pyramid was the tallest man-made structure in the world? It comprises over 2 million blocks of stone. Some of these stones are of such immense size and weight that the logistics of raising and positioning them so precisely seem like an impossibility even by modern standards. Although many theories persist as to the purpose of the pyramid, the most widely accepted understanding is that it was constructed as a tomb for the king. Still, the intricacy of the interior passages, shafts, and chambers, as well as the nearby Osiris shaft, coupled with the mystery of how the pyramid was built at all and its orientation to cardinal points, encourages the persistence of these fringe theories. King Sneferu tried to improve Imhotep's plans and created an even more impressive monument. He failed on the first attempt, which is the collapsed pyramid at Maidan. Sneferu learned from his mistake, however, and went to work on another. Undeterred, Sneferu built the Red Pyramid, the first true pyramid constructed in Egypt. The kings of the 4th dynasty were often referred to as the pyramid builders. Building a pyramid required enormous resources and the maintenance of a wide array of all kinds of skilled and unskilled workers. These resources were passed from Sneferu upon his death to his son Khufu. Khufu seems to have set to work on building his grand tomb shortly after coming to power, and he chose Giza as the site for his pyramid. Construction of the Great Pyramid. The first step in constructing a pyramid, after deciding on the location, was organizing the crew and allocating resources, and this was the job of the second most powerful man in Egypt, the vizier. Khufu's vizier was Hemenu. Because of their immense size, constructing the Great Pyramid of the Pharaoh Khufu required that more than 2 million blocks weighing from 2 to more than 60 tons be formed into a structure, covering 2 football fields and rising in a perfect pyramidal shape, extending 480 feet upwards into the sky. Khufu's pyramid is perhaps the most colossal single building ever erected on the planet. Its sides rise at an angle of 51 degrees 52 minutes and are accurately oriented to the 4 cardinal points of the compass. The Great Pyramid's core is made of yellowish limestone blocks. The outer casing, which is now almost completely gone, and the inner passages are of finer light-colored limestone. The interior burial chamber is built of huge blocks of granite. Approximately 2.3 million blocks of stone were cut, transported, and assembled to create the 5.75 million ton structure, which is a masterpiece of technical skill and engineering ability. The internal walls, as well as those few outer casing stones that still remain in place, show finer joints than any other masonry in ancient Egypt. The entrance to the Great Pyramid is on the north side. A sloping corridor descends from it through the pyramid's interior masonry, penetrating the rocky soil on which the structure rests, and it ends in an unfinished underground chamber. At the upper end of this gallery, a long and narrow passage gives access to the burial room, usually termed the King's Chamber. This room is entirely lined and roofed with granite. From the chamber, 2 narrow shafts run obliquely through the masonry to the exterior of the pyramid. It is not known whether they were designed for a religious purpose or for ventilation. The question of how the pyramids were built has not received a wholly satisfactory answer. The most plausible one is that Egyptians employed a sloping and encircling embankment of brick, earth, and sand, which was increased in height and in length as the pyramid rose. According to the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, the Great Pyramid took 20 years to construct and demanded the labor of 100,000 men. This figure is believable, given the assumption that these men, who were agricultural laborers, worked on the pyramids primarily while there was little work to be done in the fields. By the late 20th century, archaeologists found evidence that a more limited workforce may have occupied the site on a permanent rather than a seasonal basis. To the south of the Great Pyramid, near Khafre's Valley Temple, lies the Great Sphinx. Carved out of limestone, the Sphinx has the facial feature of a man but the body of a recumbent lion. It is approximately 73 meters long and 20 meters high. In 1925, a pit tomb containing the transferred burial equipment of Khufu's mother, Queen Etapheres, was discovered near the upper end of the causeway of Khufu. At the bottom of a deep stone-filled shaft was the queen's empty sarcophagus, surrounded by furniture and articles of jewelry, attesting the high artistic ability and technical perfection of the 4th dynasty craftsmen. Surrounding the three pyramids are extensive fields of flat-topped funerary structures called mastabas. The core mastabas of the 4th dynasty and numerous mastabas from the 5th and 6th dynasties have been found around and among the earliest structures. In the late 1980s and 90s, excavations in the environs of the pyramids revealed laborers' districts that included bakeries, storage areas, workshops, and the small tombs of workers and artisans. Mud ceilings seem to date back to the late 4th dynasty in the workshop areas. The tombs range from simple mud brick domes to more elaborate stone monuments. Hieroglyphic inscriptions on tomb walls occasionally identify the deceased. Thank you for watching this video. Do leave us a comment if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the bell icon if it's your first time with us. We'll see you again with another interesting video.
Atlantis, the lost continent, the lost city, the submerged city. It is known by many names, but one thing about it is certain. The tale of Atlantis has become a part of urban literature, as a synonym and sometimes the very definition of utopia. The luscious green foliage with the waves lapping on the shores, the huge marble architecture, and its people with their highly superior culture living in harmony. Atlantis has it all. The question, however, arises, how did the legend of Atlantis come about? The earliest and only reference to Atlantis was given by the Greek philosopher Plato around 650 BC in his work Critias and Timaeus. Plato talked about a massive and technologically advanced nation called Atlantis that warred against ancient Athens with their superior naval fleets. Many have claimed that Plato created this fictional nation as a warning against the hubris of nations and to create the idea of his perfect state through his work Republic. Flemish cartographer Abraham Ortelius was one of the first people to believe that the continents were at one point joined together, and he theorized that Atlantis was none other than the New World, and that it didn't sink, but instead just drifted away. Building on that, Sir Thomas More in his book Utopia showed similarities between Atlantis and America and claimed that the New World was an imaginary land of great power. Renowned Mesoamerican scholars Charles-Étienne Brasseur de Bourbourg and Augustus Le Plongeon, in highly racist undertones, would not believe that the Mayan and Aztec civilizations were responsible for creating the buildings that now lay in ruins in Central and South America. The most famous theory about Atlantis came from a US Congressman, Ignatius Donnelly, in 1882. Donnelly was inspired by early works in Mayanism, and in his book Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, he tried to establish Atlantis as the source for all the world's cultures. He drew parallels between stories of creation from the New World and the Old, stating that the Garden of Eden existed in Atlantis, and that the Great Flood was responsible for sinking Atlantis. Another important figure in the legend of Atlantis was Elena Petrovna Blavatsky, a Russian psychic and the founder of the Theosophical Society in the 1870s. The society propagated the ideas of New Age and other spiritual movements. Blavatsky combined Western Romanticism with Eastern religious concepts to write The Secret Doctrine in 1888, which she claims was based on secret knowledge from Atlantis. Blavatsky was inspired by the 18th century astronomer Jean-Sylvain Bailly, who had orientalized the myth of Atlantis in his mythical continent of Hyperborea, which was a continent in northern Europe that consisted of giant godlike beings. Perhaps the most effective usage of Blavatsky's fiction was the Nazis reshaping her version of the Aryan race for the ideological backing for their subsequent genocide. This perversion of the Aryan race to provide superior racial backing was a topic traversed by people such as Julia Evola, who in 1934 spoke of Atlanteans as Hyperboreans or Nordic supermen, originating from the North Pole. Alfred Rosenberg, in his work Myth of the 20th Century, spoke of the Nordic Atlanteans and the Nordic Aryan master race. This was a highly contradictory belief, as several esoteric and theosophic groups believed that Atlanteans were non-Caucasian, dark-skinned people. Edgar Cayce was a supposed psychic who went into a trance and claimed to heal people. He claimed that his subjects were reincarnations of Atlanteans who had a shared consciousness. He was able to talk to these dead Atlanteans and gave a description of the lost continent through their accounts and recorded them in his Akashic records. Increased acceptance of the continental drift theory and plate tectonics in the 1960s demonstrated that there was no possibility of a continent bigger than Africa or Asia to exist submerged without being noticed in the geologically recent past. Julia Anas, a professor of philosophy at the University of Arizona, weighed in by bringing to light that Plato was using a popular fictional device when talking about Atlantis. She believes that we should be using the example of Atlantis to examine our ideas of government and power rather than searching the seabed. Plato also uses the example of Atlantis as the might and powerful nation that falls due to its own notions of might, as a warning to his 4th century contemporaries against the dangers of striving for naval might. There have been many proposed locations for Atlantis. The prominent ones are in the Atlantic Ocean due to the similar sounding names, and Plato describing Atlantis as near the Pillars of Hercules. Other islands like Sardinia, Crete, Santorini, Sicily, Cyprus, and Malta have also been proposed. The most popular one is that Atlantis exists in the Bermuda Triangle due to the air of mystery shrouding this location. Many also believe that the Terra eruption in the 16th or 17th century BC caused a large tsunami that devastated the nearby Minoan civilization of Crete, which could be the inspiration for the myth of Atlantis. After all is said and done, nobody of respectable scientific standing still believes in the existence of Atlantis. However, the idea of Atlantis is commonly used in literature as a metaphor for something that is completely unattainable. Australian poet Gary Catalano wrote in a prose poem in 1982 about Atlantis as a vision that sank under the weight of its own perfection. Thank you for watching us.
Please subscribe our channel. Press the bell icon for notification. Like and share.
In this video, we will discuss the top 10 rumors that link COVID-19 to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. On the 5th of January of 2020, 59 people in the east-central city of Wuhan in China were reported of showing pneumonia-like symptoms with fever and coughing that was reported to be from an unknown virus. The Middle East respiratory syndrome, avian influenza, and a few other influenza were ruled out by infectious disease experts in China and by the researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The World Health Organization released a statement that the symptoms of this illness were ones that were common in respiratory diseases. They also issued an emergency preparedness report that same day, dictating ways to control the outbreak. By the 8th of January, authorities had ruled out SARS, or SARS-CoV-1, which had also had an epidemic in the same region in 2002 to 2003. By the 9th of January, Chinese state media declared the existence of a new type of coronavirus, the same as the SARS virus, that was responsible for the illness of dozens of people. Hectic research was done by researchers and its genome was studied. Of the patients tested consequently, 15 turned out to be positive for this new virus named COVID-19. After 2 months of this information coming out, there have been emergency measures taken by both local and global governments to limit the spread of this disease and the human cost. The delay of the Chinese government in releasing information, however, has sparked rumors about how the virus got to infect humans in the first place. There have been numerous ones like a Russian news network, Network One, claimed that the virus was created by the US government as an attempt to dismantle their economy or to sell them vaccines, one where COVID-19 was caused by radiation wave caused by 5G internet, newly instated in Wuhan, and one where the disease was supposedly caused and spread by the Mexican brand of beer Corona Extra. 10. The Wuhan Research Lab is in very close proximity to the seafood and live animal market nicknamed the Zoo, where cases of COVID-19 first came up. On February 20th, a researcher at the lab supposedly reported the head of the institute for selling off experimental animals to the market. Number 9. This picture was circulated heavily in social media as a thermal proof that China was secretly mass burning bodies affected by COVID-19 in an attempt to silence international criticism. This picture is a satellite image by NASA showing the weather patterns around the region in China. Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican from the state of Arkansas, spoke out in front of Congress and Fox News that the virus was a bioweapon created by China against the US and accidentally released it on their own people. He claimed that China wanted to harm the US due to strained foreign relations between the countries. Number 7. An interesting theory had come up linking Wuhan with the 1981 novel The Eyes of Darkness by Dean Koontz. This novel had predicted the pandemic through a fictional disease called Wuhan 400 that killed 100% of those infected by eating away their brain tissue until their hearts stopped. Number 6. The index or primary patient, Patient 0, was researcher and graduate of the Virology Institute and had worked with infectious diseases while she was there. What is appealing about this theory is that the patient never visited the market where the other cases were being reported. The institute, however, has stated that the researcher had left the city in 2015 in good health. Number 5. This is a more serious theory than the rest that had come up in the initial days of the pandemic, where former Israeli military intelligence Danny Shoham claimed that the lab was involved in covert medical military research. He was a molecular microbiologist who was learned in Chinese biological warfare. He says that the lab was already doing research on the SARS virus and that coronavirus was held within. Number 4. Stephen Wesley Mosher, a social scientist and president of the Population Research Institute, claimed that the virus had been leaked from a lab, based on the reaction of Chinese President Xi Jinping to the news of the virus. Xi Jinping had called forth an emergency meeting to discuss the measures that the nation had to take and the exchange of information to other countries. His idea was that China had created a bioweapon in their lab and it had accidentally escaped the lab and led to an outbreak, even going so far as saying, although it might have been true that China did delay in releasing crucial information to the rest of the world, there was little to no hard evidence that it was a deliberate invention of the Chinese. Number 3. On the 29th of January, financial news website and blog Zero Hodge claimed on Twitter that a researcher at the WIV had deliberately created this pathogen and released the guilty person's contact information and asked their followers to pay the researcher a visit if they wanted to know about the pandemic. Twitter later disabled the blog's account for breaking the rules of use of the platform. Number 2. This isn't a rumor, but a concern raised by the U.S. molecular biologist Richard H. Ebright back in 2017. He brought to attention the previous cases of the escape of the SARS virus from the other Chinese laboratories, and so didn't support the idea of the Wuhan Institute of Virology studying SARS. Number 1. Finally, at the end of our list, we have the accounts of misinformation being spread about the virus in state-sanctioned media and news circulations in China itself. The journalist Josh Groban and a review of state and social media in the earlier parts of March by the Washington Post brought to light a disinformation campaign going on in China, where the anti-American conspiracy theories along with unofficial statements by authorities and the environment of distrust and fear were being created. These conditions were being used by the Chinese government to draw the attention of citizens away from the bad handling of the initial outbreak by the government itself. While this can't be called a rumor, as there have been definite attempts by the Chinese government to keep information hidden. The pandemic of COVID-19 has left us in dread of what might come tomorrow. But right now, we can just focus on the good parts of our lives, like watching more videos like this on our channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this video, and do hit the bell icon if you want to see more videos like this from us.
There has been an obvious increase in the number of people who have access to smartphones, and that number is increasing at a very fast rate as more and more people are starting to use it in their daily lives. The most integral and crucial component of these smartphones is their operating system, or OS, which is the reason why these phones can do all that they do. The market for the manufacture and sale of operating systems is largely controlled by two tech giants, Google and Apple. The market share for the open source operating system by Google, Android, stands at a whopping 73.3%, while the remainder 25.89% of the market is occupied by iOS, brought to you by Apple. They are followed by others like KaiOS of Nokia and others that are present in negligible ratios. It is safe to say that the world of smartphones is divided between Android users and iOS users, both of whom believe that their platform is better than the other and won't cross over. The question then is, which OS is better? Apple unveiled the first iPhone in 2007 as Steve Jobs wanted to shrink the Mac. It was the world's first handheld touchscreen device and considered by many of that time to be revolutionary and that which would define the future. The success of the iPhone only added to the mystique and the genius of Steve Jobs, who was considered a tech god by many. After the release of the iPhone in 2007, Google had to do something big to reclaim its market share. So along with HTC, Samsung, Motorola, and a few others nicknamed the Handset Alliance, it announced the creation of the first truly open operating system, which would be able to provide high computing capabilities to a wide variety of devices ranging from low to high-end. Now, let's look at some of the driving factors swaying consumer decisions. The first category we'll look at is the price. Apple tops the charts with its iPhone 11 Pro Max priced at $1,099 and iPhone 11 at $999. While Android is offered via a wide variety of phones from multiple manufacturers that can range from Samsung to Xiaomi, Apple provides more uniform and streamlined device care along with higher security due to continuous and timely software updates and security patches, with around 50% of iPhones running the latest iOS 13. Since Android also has layers of manufacturers' modifications and the OS is continuously being changed by Google and the Open Handset Alliance to provide maximum optimization for their own devices, the updates and patches that are developed are delayed from being used on the majority of the devices, with only 10% of devices running Android 9.0 Pie. Android 10 stats are unreleased. Apple's App Store has stricter policies on letting apps onto their store, but it is more lucrative for developers, so new apps generally hit the App Store first, while some of the best games stay there. The Google Play Store has a larger number of apps, but it is more lenient on the apps that can enter. Third-party apps and phone customization are very easy to use on Android. You can create widgets on your home screen, change the layout and add shortcuts as well. You can even change the entire look of your phone by using launchers. Apple is completely against the use of third-party apps and has very limited phone customization capabilities. A really important topic for smartphone users is the battery life and charging capacities. Even though iOS has better battery optimization, you can simply get a better Android phone with a bigger battery at a lower price. Android already had wireless and fast charging, even before Apple decided to come out with their own. Android's communication system at the start was a mess when they were trying to incorporate multimedia messaging on Hangouts, but it has stabilized since Hangouts was removed and replaced with Google Allo and Duo. Apple has a more streamlined and easy-to-use iMessage and FaceTime. Storage can be done locally or on the cloud. Both the devices currently have the capacities for expandable memories up to at least 128 GB. Google offers 15 GB of free cloud storage for the user and also unlimited media storage, though there is a limit to the resolution of the images and videos. iCloud provides original resolution storage, but it gives only 5 GB of free storage. Security is the next big issue for smartphone users. Even though Android has claims of malware and gets called names like toxic health stew, the claims are somewhat exaggerated, as users rarely go outside the Play Store for their apps. Apple, however, cannot be beaten due to the religious maintenance of its security updates and their patches, and their dedication to maintaining user privacy. Routing, our last category in this list, is a modification that is rarely seen in a lot of devices. You can gain massive or sometimes even complete control over your Android device if you gain root access over it. This introduces access to previously unavailable applications. It allows the user to remove bloatware and irrelevant factory applications and also customize the device to a whole nother level. Apple, however, is completely against this sort of thing, but it does not provide at any point the level of freedom you could get with an Android device. This list is by no means exhaustive, but the main points are that in case of uniformity, security, and app quality, nothing beats the iPhone. But in the case of customization, accessibility, features, and the degree of freedom provided, Android is our winner. Thank you for watching this video. If you would like to see more videos on fun topics like these, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Leave your comments down below if you have any ideas for our next video.
We all have fantasies of being rich. These fantasies rarely come true for most of us, but what happens when they do? If you add the net worth of every person on the planet, it adds to over $241 trillion, which could be distributed to every person on the planet, each getting $31,000. With that kind of money, you could take a European tour, or even start up your very own bakery. Point is, money can be used to buy things, and a lot of it can be used to buy a lot of pretty cool things. No one knows this fact more than people who own half of the world's wealth, the top 1%. The top 10% own about 88% of the world's wealth. There is a clear and humongous gap between the general population and the ultra-rich. If you're watching this video, then chances are you are like us, not in the top 10%. So let us look at 10 things about rich people that you might not have known. But before that, if you like watching videos like this and you want to watch more content from us, remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you'll be among the first to know whenever we release a new video. And now, on to the video. Number 10. There are over 18 million households worth over $1 million in the world, the US leading with around 7 million. China coming second with around 2.1 million, and Japan lagging in third with 1.2 million. Based on the number of millionaires living in a city, London currently is leading the race with around 350,000, and New York coming a close second with 340,000. Number 9. There is a billionaire from Moscow, originally from Azerbaijan, called God. God Nisanov is a self-made billionaire who made his money from developing a 225-acre wholesale distribution center, food center, in Moscow, and also several shopping centers in the outskirts of Moscow. Number 8. The world's richest person is Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, with a whopping net worth of $117.5 billion. Following him is Bernard Arnault, CEO of Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, with a net worth of $112 billion. They are followed by Bill Gates with $108 billion, former world's richest man who, along with Paul Allen, founded Microsoft in 1975. Number 7. Most of the world's billionaires, with the obvious exceptions of Mark Zuckerberg and a few other tech-based ones, are at least 40 years of age. The financial situation in the U.S. shows clear evidence of skyrocketing costs of living along with stagnating working wages. The working age group below 35, therefore, has this unique problem of having negative savings. It is harder to get by, let alone gain wealth. Number 6. The ultra-rich are very fond of philanthropy. Granted, there are tax incentives for donating your money. The rich like giving away their money for causes they believe in or support. A 2018 study found that the average ultra-high net worth UNWH philanthropist will give away about 10% of their wealth towards charity in the course of their lives. Number 5. Wealth fatigue syndrome is a real thing. Manfred Ketz de Vries, a psychoanalyst, has proposed the condition where people who have access to unlimited funds soon grow disenchanted with their wealth and the ability to buy literally anything they set their eyes on. This leads to them indulging in reckless or self-destructive behavior in a bid to still appreciate the value in other things in life. Such behavior could be compulsive shopping sprees, gambling, or impulsive purchases, since they don't seem to run out of money. Number 4. There are 256 female billionaires out of the 2,208 billionaires in the world according to Forbes as of 2018. This means that around only 10% of the world's billionaires are female. According to Professor Zuckman of the National Bureau of Economic Research, it would take about a century for 50% of billionaires to be women if the current growth rates continue. Number 3. Dropping out of college does not give you a better or even equal chance of becoming a billionaire. You may have heard of people claiming that dropping out of college or not pursuing a higher education does not affect your chance of becoming a billionaire. The examples usually given for this are Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, who were both college dropouts. Now, not even mentioning the fact that they dropped out of Reed and Harvard respectively, the percentage of people who became billionaires while not pursuing higher education is very low. Only around 14% of billionaires have less than a college degree. More than half of them have at least a bachelor's degree, while around 30% also have a postgraduate degree. Remember, they aren't talking about the full picture, but just looking at a few success stories. Number 2. The richest person in the history of the world was an African king called Mansa Musa, 1280 to 1337. He ruled over the Mali Empire, which consists of present-day Ghana, Timbuktu, and Mali. He became rich by having control over half of the world's salt and gold mines. He set up his capital in the city of Timbuktu, which soon became a center for trade, arts, and commerce. At the time of his death, he had amassed a wealth of, accounting for inflation, approximately $400 billion, or 4 times that of the current richest man, Jeff Bezos. This enormous wealth, however, disappeared after a line of squandering successors in civil wars. Number 1. Jeff Bezos is the world's richest man with a wealth of $117 billion. If he were to spend $3 million every day, then it would still take him 100 years to go broke. Alternatively, he could give $10 to every single person on the planet and he would still be left with $41 billion and still be in the top 15 richest Americans. That is all for this video. If you enjoyed listening to us, please like and share this video. Please leave your comments below. We'll see you next time with another topic. In this video, we are going to explore the technology and logic behind ISD codes. But before we delve into the how and why, we first need to acquaint ourselves with the what. What are ISD codes? ISD is the acronym for the International Standard Dialing Codes. These codes are essential when it comes to calling services. Each country has its own ISD code. When one has to make a call, whether domestic or international, it is important that the ISD code is punched in first, which is followed by the other numbers. There is no fixed amount of numbers that an ISD code must consist of. They usually range from 2-digit numbers to 4-digit numbers. These codes are also simply called calling codes. In the most basic sense, they are numerical prefixes that are required in order to establish telecommunication with a person or entity in another country. However, these are all countries that fall under the International Telecommunication Union, ITU. International Direct Dialing, IDD, is made possible through the ISD codes. These ISD codes are not necessarily dialed when making domestic calls. It is also by the ITU-T standard that each of these ISD codes are preceded by a plus sign, which indicates the National Telecom Code. In the more recent and advanced GSM cellular networks, there isn't an important need for the country's code to be typed in manually, since it automatically picks up the code when a telephone number is dialed in beside the plus sign. The ITU-T standards render the expanse of the world to be divided into 9 zones. Each of these zones is assigned one of the 9 numbers as the first number, which is automatically and necessarily preceded by a plus sign. There are quite a number of countries that fall under each of these zones, either by default or as part of the continent or by any other given standards. Plus 1. North America. North America and the territories that fall under this category are those that come under the first time zone with the assigned prefix of plus 1. It is officially titled as the North American Numbering Plan, NANP. All the countries and territories that fall under the North American Numbering Plan are assigned country codes that are 3 digits, which is automatically preceded by the assigned plus 1 international prefix. Plus 2. Africa. While this is a time zone that includes almost all of the African countries, it also has included the Faroe Islands, the British Indian Ocean Territory, Aruba, and Greenland. Under this zone, there are several codes that exist but have not been assigned to any country, or have been discontinued, or have been reserved for any country's expansion. While most of these countries have 3-digit country codes, Egypt alone is assigned a 2-digit code, whereas on exception, Zanzibar is assigned a 5-digit code. Plus 3 and plus 4, Europe. Both the zones that have been assigned the prefixes plus 3 and plus 4 are occupied by countries that fall within the continent of Europe. Earlier, countries that were larger, such as the United Kingdom, France, and Spain, were allotted codes that were merely 2 digits long since their domestic numbers were long enough. And on the other hand, smaller countries like Iceland were allotted 3-digit codes. But in the 1980s, new methods of allotment were introduced, which made sure that all countries were assigned 3-digit codes irrespective of their population. Plus 5. South America. This time zone that has been allotted the prefix plus 5 includes all the countries that are part of South America. These are the American territories that fall outside the North American Numbering Plan, NANP, and so have been grouped together as one under the South American Zone. The prefix plus 599 has been assigned to a group of 6 countries that fall under Netherlands Antilles, and each of their codes is the same, which is followed by a single digit that is unique to them. Plus 6. Southeast Asia and Oceania. All the countries that form part of the Southeast Asian and Oceanian continents are assigned the plus 6 prefix and also follow one time zone. The countries are mostly assigned 3-digit codes which begin with the number 6, with a few exceptions. 7 countries of this group are assigned 2-digit codes, and the other 7 are codes that have not yet been assigned to any territory. Plus 7. Former Soviet territories. Under this time zone, we simply have only 3 territories: Russia, Kazakhstan, and a few parts of Abkhazia. While Russia's code remains a single digit plus 7, the other 2 territories have 3 other digits attached to this prefix. Plus 8. East Asia and Special Services. With the exception of the East Asian countries and a few special services, most of the codes under the plus 8 time zone remain unassigned. All of the codes are of 3 digits, with only about 4 exceptions that have been assigned 2-digit codes. Plus 9. Middle East and parts of South Asia. All of the countries and territories that fall under the Middle East and a few countries of South Asia have been grouped under this particular time zone that has been assigned the prefix of plus 9. Moreover, the plus 999 code has been reserved for future global services and remains unassigned as well. Other than the countries and territories that fall under the above-mentioned 9 time zones, there are also a few territories that do not use or have a country code in place. For example, Antarctica, and the reasons for this may range from geographical reasons to political or technological necessity. They may be changed in the future for any given reason. However, the chances of such an occurrence are quite low. In this way, there are standardized structures in place that allow for the assignment of ISD codes and country codes that assist in international and domestic calling. Thank you for watching. Please like and share this video and leave your comments below. We'll see you in the next video.
Hello and welcome back to our channel. If this is your first time with us, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Today, we are going to view the top 10 interesting construction site secrets. Construction sites have always piqued the interest of both children and adults alike. But it's not just the size. The mere concept of creating something out of nothing is what attracts a lot of attention towards these sites. Now, let us view some of the fun facts about these sites. Fun fact number 1. Did you know that the fastest skyscraper ever constructed was completed in just 19 days? In China, a construction company decided to construct the fastest skyscraper, so they constructed a 57-story skyscraper in just 19 days. Impossible, right? But it's the truth. This skyscraper, instead of being constructed brick by brick, it was constructed block by block. The time-lapse video created by the company of this construction is exciting and fun to watch. Right now, the company is planning to construct a world-class skyscraper of 220 stories in just the time span of 3 months. Fun fact number 2. While the above company tries to build the tallest skyscraper, there is a company that earned nearly £2 million by building the smallest skyscraper located in Texas, USA. The Newby McMahon building is the smallest skyscraper ever built, with a height of just 40 feet. Yes, friends, you heard it right. It's just 40 feet. Originally, during 1919, a man named J.D. McMahon, while creating the construction, planned for this building to go as high as 480. It was constructed in 1919. To this day, this is the smallest skyscraper that has been constructed. Fun fact number 3. Have you ever wondered why the cranes in the construction site are always holding a box and not placed down? I mean, couldn't the person just spend 5 more minutes to place it down before leaving? Well, my friends, the engineers are not as lazy and stupid as you think they are. The crane holding the box is in fact a storage unit for the equipment and tools that cannot be placed on the ground. Placing them like this within a storage box on the top of a crane will protect the tools from getting stolen. Genius, right? Fun fact number 4. One of the most common sightings in construction sites is hard hats. From engineers to normal workers, everyone wears them. This is common knowledge. But what you do not know is that these hats are color-coded based upon the position or the role of the person in the construction site. The hats are mostly colored this way to identify the position of different workers and approach them quickly, especially in case of large constructions. Each set of workers working in different capacities is provided with a different colored hat. So the hat of a structural engineer will be different from that of the bricklayers. This technique is followed by many countries all over the world. Fun fact number 5. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, this might seem like a proverb suitable for a tortoise story, but in reality, this can be applied to all types of work. During 1983, nearly hundreds of workers joined together to construct a 3-bedroom house within 3 days. The house was a total failure. From slanting slabs to faulty sewers, the house was a standing example of what is not to be done while constructing a house. Nonetheless, they set an example for something. Fun fact number 6. Sometimes people fight among themselves to build the tallest building, especially if 2 buildings are being constructed at the same time right next to each other. One such interesting rivalry transpired between 2 men named William Van Allen, Chrysler Building, and H. Craig Severance, 40 Wall Street Building. In order to win this competition, William added an extra 180-foot spire to the top of his building to ensure that his building was the tallest building in the world. But nothing good lasts forever. Within the next 11 months, the building lost its name as the tallest building in the world to the Empire State Building. Poor William Van Allen. Fun fact number 7. Now, if your child has the habit of collecting stones, do not scold them. Who knows, they might create history in the future. A postman named Ferdinand Chaval from France collected stones for nearly 33 years of his life while delivering posts. With the help of the stones he collected, he constructed a native building called La Palais Ideal, which gained its place in history when it was named as a piece of naive art and was made a cultural landmark in 1969. Fun fact number 8. Do you know what a nail house is? Well, it's a term commonly used in China referring to houses that are present amidst other construction projects. Most people will refuse to sell their property, and the owners would have no other option than constructing a building around it. Such properties or houses are called the nail houses, as they are like a nail in the construction project that cannot be removed. These properties normally stick out of place to the people taking a look, but the owners are persistent about their rights. Fun fact number 9. Have you ever wondered about the growing crane? I mean, have you observed how the size of the crane increases along with the height of the building? The fact is that the crane is also constructed along with the building. A second crane is installed on the top of the first crane, and hydraulics are further added to this crane to increase its length. This might look to viewers as if the crane is growing, but in reality, the crane is also being constructed along with the building. So as the building grows, the crane also grows in size. Fun fact number 10. Have you wondered why most of the construction sites have a walk-in model or a mock-up of the upcoming building? It is so that potential buyers have an idea of what the area would look like in the near future. Apart from being an advertisement, it will also allow the passers-by and the nearby residents to get used to the idea of the nearby buildings in the future. These mock-ups have become common these days. Thank you for watching us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. And do hit the bell icon if you want to see more videos like this from us. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't ever miss an interesting video from us, such as this one. In this video, we are going to discuss the top 10 military bases associated with UFO sightings, but we'll cover Area 51 separately in one of our videos. Number 10. Malmstrom Air Force Base. Malmstrom Air Force Base is in Cascade County in Montana in the US. It commemorates Colonel Einar Axel, a prisoner of war during the Second World War. On the morning of March 16, 1967, the missile combat crew received reports from security patrols and maintenance crew that a UFO was hovering over one of the missile silos. Shortly after, within 30 seconds, 10 missiles had become inoperable. Prior to this incident, on August 15, 1950, a UFO was caught on camera by a manager of a baseball league, and this incident is widely known as the Mariana UFO sighting. Number 9. Carswell Air Force Base. Carswell Air Force Base, located in the northwest of Fort Worth, Texas, is a former base of the U.S. Air Force. Its mission was to train and support heavy strategic bombing groups and wings. Popularly known as the Roswell Incident, it is regarded as one of the most famous UFO encounters in New Mexico and was criticized for the cover-up. On July 8, 1947, a public information officer from the base issued a press release under orders from their commander about a flying saucer in their possession. The next day, another press release was issued, this time from their general stating it was a weather balloon. However, there were claims that the operations officer saw an aluminum-like material with characters written on it being loaded for a flight to Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth, Texas. Similar sightings were alleged in 1954 and 1965. Number 8. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is situated just east of Dayton, Ohio in Greene and Montgomery counties. It operates the airfield, maintains all infrastructure, and provides security, communications, medical aid, personnel, finance, transportation, air traffic control, weather forecasting, public affairs, recreation, and chaplain services for more than 60 associate units. In July 1947, a senior pilot at Roswell Air Force Base during the Roswell incident flew a plane to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio shortly after the incident. In 1977, he told his business partner about his assignment. He apparently transported spacecraft wreckage and small alien bodies. He showed his partner a piece of metal from the wreckage. It resembled aluminum but was lighter and much stiffer. Number 7. Fort Dix. In 1978, a military policeman stationed at Fort Dix was following a low-flying aircraft through the wilderness of the base during the wee hours of a frigid January morning. A 4-foot-tall, grayish-brown creature with long arms, a slender body, and a fat head appeared in front of the military policeman's truck and was then shot. In July 2017, the Pentagon released footage of an extraterrestrial vehicle outdoing U.S. Navy fighters, confirming some of its descriptions. Number 6. Palms Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center. Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center is located in San Bernardino County in Southern California. It is larger than some small countries, covering more than 998 square miles of the high desert. The premier training facility is nestled in the quiet desert paradise of 29 Palms. There have been many UFO sightings in the area since the 1950s. In May 2019, a worm-like UFO was spotted over the town of 29 Palms. Number 5. Fort Meade. Fort George G. Meade is an Army installation located in Maryland that includes the Defense Information School, the Defense Media Activity, the United States Army Field Band, and the headquarters of United States Cyber Command, the National Security Agency, the Defense Courier Service, and the U.S. Navy's Cryptologic Warfare Group 6. In 1992, an Air Force officer was imbibed into a top-level secret program involving what the Air Force officials termed as Greys. Since the early 1960s, it was revealed that the U.S. government had been working on a way to communicate with them. Apparently, the officer's mother was visited by aliens before he was born. As a result of genetic manipulation, it resulted in him being more receptive to the communications of Greys. After a few years, the NSA headquartered at Fort Meade declassified many documents. Some of these reports note attempts to decode a radio message received from outer space. Number 4. Edwards Air Force Base. Edwards Air Force Base is located in Kern County in Southern California. It is home to the Air Force Test Center, Air Force Test Pilot School, and NASA's Armstrong Flight Research Center. According to an American university professor, the 34th President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, had a meeting with actual alien beings at this base. At one of the meetings, it was reported that Eisenhower actually negotiated with one alien race to exchange their technology for some humans for research on a condition that they shall not be harmed. Even Laura Magdalene Eisenhower, Dwight Eisenhower's great-granddaughter, has publicly stated that she believes that he met with extraterrestrials. Number 3. Kirtland Air Force Base. Kirtland Air Force Base is located in Albuquerque. The base was named after the early Army aviator Colonel Roy C. Kirtland. The military and the international airport share the same runways, making it a joint civil-military airport. In 1980, a declassified government report revealed that guards at this base saw UFOs in the Coyote Canyon area. During this period, radar was reportedly jammed by an unknown source for 6 hours. There were even claims that aliens were controlling people through electromagnetic devices. Number 2. Holloman Air Force Base. Holloman Air Force Base is located southwest of the Central Business District of Alamogordo, New Mexico. In 1972, an eminent filmmaker, Robert Eminger, was prompted by the U.S. Air Force to produce a UFO documentary. In 1974, UFOs Past, Present, and Future was released without its most sensational story, as the Air Force reneged on its promise to give Eminger footage of a UFO landing at the base in 1971. Number 1. Dobbins Air Force Base. Dobbins Air Reserve Base is an Air Force reserve base located in Marietta, Georgia. Many reports came from civilian and military pilots like the airmen from Dobbins Air Force Base, who told their story in 1952. They reported an object streak overhead before it disappeared. The control tower operator relates that there were so many UFO sightings at Dobbins Air Force Base in the 1950s Sightings continued throughout the years. Even recently, a square black UFO the size of a Boeing 727 was spotted. That's all for this video. We hope you found our online content enlightening, and we'd love to hear your views and thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and share this video. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back to our channel. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't ever miss an interesting video from us, such as this one. In this video, we are going to discuss the top 10 mysteriously deadly virus. Number 10. Marburg virus. The disease caused by the Marburg virus is highly virulent. It belongs to the same family as Ebola and results in hemorrhagic fever with a fatality ratio of 88%. Two large outbreaks occurred simultaneously in Marburg and Frankfurt in Germany and in Belgrade, Serbia in 1967, which led to the discovery of the disease. Human infection with Marburg virus disease initially results from prolonged exposure to mines or caves inhabited by Rochette's bat colonies. Once an individual is infected with the virus, Marburg can spread through human-to-human interactions via direct contact with the blood, secretions, organs, or other bodily fluids of infected people and with surfaces and materials contaminated with these fluids. As of now, there is no proven treatment available for Marburg virus disease. Number 9. Ebola virus. The Ebola virus disease, EVD, formerly known as Ebola hemorrhagic fever, is a rare but severe, often fatal illness in humans. EVD entered the public eye in 1976 through two simultaneous outbreaks in what is now Nizara, South Sudan, and the other in Yabuku, DRC. The latter occurred in a village near the Ebola River from which the disease takes its name. The 2014 through 2016 outbreak in West Africa was the largest Ebola outbreak since its discovery. Ebola is introduced into the human population through close contact with the bodily fluids of infected animals such as fruit bats, chimpanzees, gorillas, monkeys, forest antelope, or porcupines found ill or dead in the rainforest. People remain infectious as long as their blood contains the virus. As of now, there is a vaccine, RVSV-ZEBOV, which was used during the 2018-2019 Ebola outbreak in DRC. Number 8. Rabies. Rabies is another infectious viral disease that is almost always fatal once symptoms start to show. In up to 99% of cases, domestic dogs are responsible for rabies virus transmission to humans. Rabies is present in all continents except Antarctica, with over 95% of human deaths occurring in Asia and Africa. Rabies is one of the neglected tropical diseases that predominantly affect poor and vulnerable populations who live in remote and rural locations. Although effective human vaccines and immunoglobulins exist for rabies, they are not readily available or accessible to those in need. Number 7. HIV. The human immunodeficiency virus attacks the immunity of the individual, killing off their killer T cells. This leaves the person in an immunocompromised state that makes them susceptible to various infections and diseases that a healthy individual can fight off. The most advanced stage of HIV infection is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS. HIV can be transmitted via the exchange of a variety of body fluids from infected people, such as blood, breast milk, semen, and vaginal secretions. HIV can also be transmitted from a mother to her child during pregnancy and delivery. Individuals cannot become infected through ordinary day-to-day contacts, such as kissing, hugging, shaking hands, or sharing personal objects, food, or water. Number 6. Influenza. Influenza, commonly known as the flu, is an infectious disease caused by an influenza virus. Symptoms can be mild to severe. The most common symptoms include high fever, runny nose, sore throat, headache, coughing, and feeling tired. Influenza spreads around the world in yearly outbreaks, resulting in about 3 to 5 million cases of severe illness and about 290,000 to 650,000 deaths. About 20% of unvaccinated children and 10% of unvaccinated adults are infected each year. Death occurs mostly on high-risk groups, the young, the old, and those with other health problems. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. Rarely, a person might get the flu by touching a surface or an object that has the flu virus on it, and then touching their mouth, nose, or possibly their eyes. Antiviral drugs are used to treat influenza. Number 5. Hantavirus. Hantaviruses are a family of viruses spread mainly by rodents and can cause varied disease syndromes in people worldwide. Hantaviruses in the Americas are known as New World hantaviruses and may cause hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, HPS. Other hantaviruses, known as Old World hantaviruses, are found mostly in Europe and Asia and may cause hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, HFRS. Each hantavirus stereotype is spread by specific rodent species when the virus becomes aerosolized from their feces, blood, or urine. Number 4. Rotavirus. They are a wheel-shaped virus that is transmitted through contact with food and drink contaminated with infected feces. They can also spread through contact with contaminated surfaces. The disease has a winter and seasonal pattern in temperate countries like the US. The symptoms of the virus include vomiting, diarrhea, and severe dehydration. Adults generally do not contract rotavirus, or, if they do, have milder symptoms. Number 3. SARS-CoV. It is a severe respiratory illness caused by SARS-associated coronavirus, SARS-CoV, and was first reported in 2003 in China and resulted in a large-scale pandemic that crossed national borders. The symptoms developed are high fever, body aches, and pneumonia. It is transmitted mostly by respiratory droplets released by infected persons or by touching of contaminated surfaces. CDC and its partners like WHO continue to monitor the presence of SARS to ensure that no outbreaks since 2004 happen again. Number 2. SARS-CoV-2. A coronavirus similar to the SARS virus that was discovered in China. It is currently on the track to be the cause for a global pandemic. It is transmitted through the contact of respiratory droplets or contaminated surfaces. The symptoms of CoV-2 are dry cough and fever resulting in pneumonia. Global efforts are being made to ensure a cure for the disease and to ensure it doesn't escalate in severity further. Number 1. MERS-CoV. Middle East Respiratory Syndrome is again a respiratory illness caused by a coronavirus that results in fever, cough, and shortness of breath, with about a 40% fatality rate. It can spread through close contact with infected individuals and coming in contact with their respiratory fluids. There is no current vaccine for MERS, and the treatments available are to relieve the symptoms, not a cure. That is all for this video. Don't forget to like and share this content. Leave your comments below. We'll see you next time.